Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Lunch and Learn. I am Mr. Aaron, and all this month, all April long, we are partnering with the Suncoast Blues Society because on April 26th, there's this amazing thing called the Giving Challenge. And what the Giving Challenge is, basically in a nutshell, is all the nonprofits all around the country, all those little people that are doing amazing things for humanity but aren't trying to make a profit off it, they all need money. And on this one magical day, anyone that gives money, all the large corporations all around the country match that dollar for dollar in this 24-hour period, this 24-hour window. And so we've teamed up with the Suncoast Blues Society to do an event right here at Music Compound. So from midnight April 26th to midnight the next day, you have 24 hours. So if you miss it during our event, it's okay, you can keep doing it. But we're going to teach you all about the blues this month so that when you come and watch our show, you know a little bit about music too at the same time. All right, so we're going to start out today's Lunch and Learn. We're going to learn about blues and drumming today. And so there's a couple different angles we need to look at this from. Just like any song, the blues actually has a structure to it. It's actually a very, very, I don't want to say rigid because the blues are very improvisational and very free-forming, right? But there is a structure that everyone falls into, and that's how come random strangers, when they get together and play the blues, they all know what to do, because it's this hidden secret that I'm going to reveal for you guys right now. So first, we need to learn about something called a measure, and we talked about this a little bit in last month's Lunch and Learn. So a measure is basically 4 quarter notes, and we just group them all together. We got 1, 2, 3, and here's 4. And so you got your 1, 2, 3, 4. We can call them quarter notes if we want, but they're your beats. And so we're going to group these into different sections. So we're going to group these into 3 sections of 4, adding up to 12. It's called the 12-bar blues. It is the secret of the blues. It really, really is. Now, what does this mean for us drummers? Basically, it just means we're going to hit a cymbal here, and a cymbal right here, and here, and here. Let me finish drawing this out for you. So we're going to hit a cymbal right there, right there, right there, here, 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 and here, just right on these quarter notes when we get started. I'm going to break down this beat for you guys, and we're just going to do that quarter note beat that I showed you last month on our Lunch and Learn. So just a reminder, our first beat that we learned last month was using those quarter notes. We're going to hit just the hi-hat, just keeping going on this, and then we're going to add our kick, snare, and we're just going to alternate. And I'm going to use this to do the blues, and all the little spots that I put that star, I'm going to hit the cymbal on that. And so I'm going to count out loud for us. We got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then I would just keep going and keep going and keep going. I actually just started my next rotation of the 12-bar blues going with that. And so like I said, it's very, very easy. You don't have to start fast. You don't have to start slow. Start at whatever pace feels comfortable to you. But it's just a nice, simple back and forth with everything. And everything is locking right in with that hi-hat landing it all in the same spot. Okay. So what I have drawn on the board over here is what I just played for you on the drum set, just broken down into its measures. So basically, we're going to do 4 measures of quarter notes right here, and then we're going to hit the cymbal. And what this cymbal does is it signals the rest of the band that they need to be changing chords at the same time. Now, they should already know when they're going to be changing chords and what they're going to be doing if they know what they're doing. But if they don't, this is a good, helpful reminder. Sometimes things are new, and that's why we're learning, right? This is why I'm teaching you guys. So after we get through 4 of these, we hit a cymbal change. It changed the color. By the way, this little symbol, the hash with the two dots here, means you just keep doing the exact same thing you did in the measure before. So for us on the drums, we're just playing our quarter notes, bass, snare, going with that hi-hat like we were doing. And so 4 measures of 4, 2 measures of 4, then we hit the cymbal again, and that one should have been blue, I'm sorry. But then we do another 2 measures, and then we break it down 1, 1, 1, 1, and the whole thing just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And before you know it, you're actually really, really good at this thing that looks foreign, complicated. It's really, really not that bad. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to make this sound a little bit more like the blues. So the blues, in its creation, we didn't have drum sets. We didn't have, everything was marching band, and this music was created actually during the time of the American slavery. And so they used, I know I wasn't there, they used the railroad tracks as their drums. So that shuffle sound, that da, 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 that now that I've mentioned a train, you can actually hear those train tracks in your head rolling and rolling. That's where American swing originally came from. Now, eventually jazz musicians also caught on to this, and we combined that with African rhythms and European harmonies, and jazz was also created. But the blues and jazz are American music. It is American treasure. We created it, and that's pretty much how it came to be. So, for this next part, I'm going to have Mr. Ian come and join me. I'm going to give him a drumstick, and he's going to use this side cymbal over here. I'm going to use this one right here.
This one right here?
And, oh, yeah, just bring it right out in front of you.
Okay, right out in front of me.
Yeah. And so here's your drumstick. You remember how to use this from last week?
Not
you just
really.
grab it and hit it, right? No. Just a quick reminder and technique, most of it, you're pinning you're not grabbing the drumstick like a baseball. You want a little bit of bounce in that drumstick, and this is really, really, really going to help in that blues rhythm. So we had our 4 beats. We don't need to check in on the quarter notes, but let's just do a little bit of a warm-up and do that anyways. So we got our 1, 2. This is about the pace that we're going to go, just like this. Nice, real good form, real good technique. I like it. Now what I was looking for in his technique was, like I said, this part right here, he had a nice good hook going with his thumb right over the top, which gave plenty of bounce in his drumstick. Usually I see students, they like to wiggle like this and they'll grab it at the back, and that only works for as long as it works. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add that blues rhythm. So let's see if we can do it together. So it's going to be that bop, 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 bop. There you go. Now we're going to combine this with our kick and the snare over on the drum set, and I'll show you this in a second, and then maybe I'll even get Mr. Ian doing this too, hopefully. We'll see. The reason I use the cymbals here is because over on the drum set, we're going to use the hi-hat for this. You can also use the ride cymbal like this, or even the crash cymbal if you're really, really soft. The crash cymbal is a much brighter sound though, so you got to be a little bit more careful. That's why I'm demonstrating on this one, because I know how to be a little bit more careful with it. So you ready? Let's see if you can do it on your own, Mr. Ian. Almost. Let's try this again. Pause. And so it's going to be a little bit more of a, let's see if we can clap it out for a second. So we got this bop, 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 bop. Nice, and let's pause and start together. I'll chicken wing it with you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, bop, 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 bop. There we go. And now over on the cymbal. And 1, 2, ready, and... Very good. The rhythm that Mr. Ian actually tried to do, like just straight on autopilot, was a jazz rhythm, and kudos to you for that one. It's almost the same, but just a little bit different.
Okay, how is it different?
Well, because all right, so if we're going to break this down, you have quarter notes, and so you're starting with your quarter notes, then you have 2 8th notes, and the blues shuffle is actually a little bit more of a triplet in there. So I don't want to throw too much, but it's the difference of about this much space in time. So it's not a whole lot. So let's pan over to the drum set and see if we can give you guys a drum rhythm on this one. All right, so now we have that hi-hat groove that we were doing with Mr. Ian, that bop, 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 bop. That double hit is going to happen right with the snare. So we're going to have our kick, snare, pop, kick, snare. And that's how you keep place of where you are with this. That's the hardest part when you're adding this new rhythm into play with the kick and the snare, is where does everything go? And the double hit always immediately follows the snare. So you got your 1, 2, 3, 4, kick, snares, kick, snare. Snares the bop bop. Now I'm going to very slowly go through the 12-bar blues, and I'm going to hit the cymbal in the same spots just like I did before, and then I'm going to do it a little bit faster so you have a little bit easier time recognizing the blues in there. So we got our 1, 2, 3. that 12-bar grooves. That one's a little bit harder to count and talk and get it all at the same time because we're doing something called syncopation. So that's why I stopped after that 3 count. Otherwise, my head was just going to not do it. But that's another important lesson. Go at your own pace. Do the things you're trying to do. If I'm trying to count and play this all at the same time, I'm not going to have an easier time doing it. But I can throw on a blues track on YouTube or go back and play along with me on this track on just repeat and just get this. And then you do it enough times, it just kind of goes on autopilot, and that's what's known as playing with feel. All right, so we've got Mr. Ian here, and he is a guitar player, obviously. And so we're going to get this going with him just nice and slow, just that dot, dot,
Okay.
dot, dot. Let's just see how it's looking at first. Just get it going with the hi-hat first. There it is, there it is, there it is. Now it's worth pointing out, earlier we saw well, you guys didn't see it because you weren't looking at his foot, but Mr. Ian was tapping along with when he was doing it on the drums, and
That's
Mr.
what
Matt in the
guitar players
background,
do,
yeah, that's what most instrumentalists do. Mr. Matt pointed out that while most instrumentalists do that, that's not something you necessarily want to do as a drummer, and here's the biggest reason for it, is we use different drums to cue that exact same thing. So Ian's still going to be playing that thing that his foot was tapping out a few moments ago. It's just now it's being shifted between the kick and the snare and the kick and the snare. So he still has the same thing that he's going to lock onto. It's just in a different way.
Cool, because as I was saying to you, I tell my students, playing the guitar, if you're not tapping your foot, you're not playing the guitar.
Yeah.
And then you get on here, and it's like, it's all different.
Well, yeah, you got to tap your foot every other time.
Okay, let's give it a go.
All right, let's give it a go. Now you want to start just right away with the kick and the snare. So you're going to hit the kick and the hi-hat at the same time. And then you're going to hit the snare drum and the hi-hat at the same time. And that's when the double hit happens. So you'll just hit the hi-hat at that point. So let's try to speed this up a little bit together. So you have together, together, just that one. Yeah. But then you got to keep it going. There it is. Oh, and pause for the cause, pause for the cause. Oh, that's that song. Somebody's gonna go out tonight before the night is through. That's not what we're doing though. It is the exact same rhythm, but it was.
Look what you did.
It's the same rhythm, but we balanced it between a different thing. So that is the challenge.
Okay.
It's all on the. So remember, the double hit is right after that snare. So you got your kick, snare, the kick, snare. There it is. Nice.
It's like this.
Very good.
You remember when Spinal Tap needed a drummer? They're like the advertisement was Spinal Tap required drummer must be able to count to 4 several times in succession. And that's the hard bit.
That is the hard bit, and that's why I mentioned it when I was doing this one. Actually, I couldn't count it and keep that going because I knew I was going to get all thrown off there. Now, Mr. Ian had it going, and like I said before too, you're going to move at your own pace. Going super slow, like I tried to get Ian to do right out of the gate, that was too slow for him. His natural state needed to go a little bit faster. Now, that doesn't mean go as fast as you can, because that's the thing that most people actually do. Most people do need to slow down, but sometimes too slow. Slow is much harder than fast. Yeah. But if you can't do it slow, you're going to have a real hard time doing it really, really fast. So find that natural, comfortable spot, and then get it going. And Mr. Ian, right before we stopped, accidentally hit a double kick. That's not a big deal. That's where the practice comes from. So he's going to stop, and then he's going to restart, and he's going to keep doing this until he has that rhythm down. And once he has that rhythm down, then he's going to worry about all those cymbal hits that we were talking about a minute ago.
Okay, so... What, 3 in a row?
Same spot as every time. Same spot as every time. Nice. And so...
I'm going to double foot.
Oh yeah, I was going to say. And that's okay. If it's the first time that you're doing this, don't get so bogged down on this has to be perfect. Sometimes you need to add an extra hit in there, and then once you get that down and feel comfortable with, then you can take that hit away.
Okay, so...
It's there. You keep working on this. We'll come back another time, and we'll show everyone how good you got.